Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the formal business today. I declare the formal part of the meeting closed, and I'll hand over to Bruce.
Thanks, Paul. We've made some progress, certainly in the last year, and I'll bring you up to date with where we're at with each of our activities, particularly on Arrowsmith North. As I've pointed out before, silica sand is a product that's used everywhere. Unfortunately, in Australia, we produce almost nothing with silica sand. So it's certainly an export product. We're pursuing a number of different markets, but predominantly markets at the moment we're looking for Arrowsmith North, which is our first project. So it's a product that is in huge demand. And we're trying to position the company at the moment to be in the right spot at the right time for when Asia starts seriously running out of silica sand. Some 50 billion tonnes a year of silica sand is used, 49.5 is in concrete. And therein lies a big problem in Asia. Almost all the stimulus spending that's going on in Asia is in concrete, and that's used up an enormous amount of silica sand, so that other users of silica sand, other products that are produced out of silica sand, are struggling to get supply because they're just not getting a look in, as most of it disappears into concrete. And it's the urbanisation of not just China but the rest of Asia that is driving the demand for silica sand. So much so that there are severe shortages in Asia. Every country has banned exports of silica sand. There is an occasional shipment out of Vietnam. They ban it occasionally, and they let a few shipments out every now and then. And there's a permit for a couple of million tonnes out of Malaysia. There's some illegal mining goes on every now and then in Indonesia. But otherwise, every other country has banned exports because they are particularly concerned about their own domestic supplies for concrete and other silica sand products. It's difficult to research where silica sand ends up. There are literally hundreds of different products. However, you can research pretty well the fact that there is an impending shortage in silica sand. There's a book here, The World in a Grain. The author of this was prompted by an article he read where a policeman in India was shot and killed trying to stop some illegal sand mining. It's a strangely compelling book. It's worthwhile trying to chase it up. But there's a lot of articles around the place talking about the shortage of silica sand, particularly in Asia. We've got 5 very large projects, 3 up at Arrowsmith, which sits between Eneabba and Dongra. We have one at Muchea, just 50 k's north here of Perth, and one out east of Esperance. What we're chasing here is silica sand that is eroded from granite. So these are granite-based sands. If you think desert sands, they're rarely used for much at all because mainly that orangey red colour in it is iron. Iron's the enemy when it comes to almost every silica sand product. But we've got Arrowsmith North. It's our first project to be developed. It's 200 million tonnes of reserves. We're planning at the moment 2 million tonnes a year, so this is a 100-year reserve. So it's very, very long-term project. We've just recently received environmental approvals and also approval of our mining proposal. We're finalising offtakes at the moment. I'll get to some detail of where we're at the moment. But really, Arrowsmith North is about predominantly Foundry sand. What we discovered sort of part way through our metallurgical test work, our marketing manager pointed out to us that we've actually got very high quality Foundry sand. And there's some attributes about that sand that make it not unique, but eminently suitable for the Foundry industry. So we're aiming, the Foundry industry mainly is tied up around the automobile industry. So we currently have offtake in Korea, and we're chasing some more up there, as we are in also in Japan. ultimately, we expect some production to go to China. The car industry there is growing like crazy. Even the EV industry has quite a number of products that are produced using Foundry sand. So this photo sort of explains why Arrowsmith North is a suitable product. One, they are single grains. They are single quartz crystals. And the fact that they're single quartz crystals makes them thermally stable. So when you pour hot metal in there 1,000 degrees, it doesn't pop open. Many quartz-based sand deposits have got little quartz crystals that are in clusters. And if you chuck hot metal in there, they pop open. So it happens to be single grains, thermally stable, and our process is to make them clean. So the cleaner the surface, they then go into the next step in the foundry process, which is resin coating. So the clean surface allows the resin to be coated evenly, and then resin coated sand is the one that's pounded into different moulds. They end up looking, they're as hard as a brick. So this sand is particularly suitable for that. So that's a market that we're pursuing actively. This is an interesting part of that particular industry, is they're using 3D printers to print the moulds. The printers themselves have a little nozzle which they inject dry sand, resin and hardener together and print these moulds in layers. Our marketing manager attended an exhibition May last year, and there were 2 companies producing 3D printers that would do these types of moulds. And the biggest was a sort of metre by a cubic metre. We attended an exhibition. This is just a foundry exhibition in Tianjin in China. Had 1,200 exhibitors and 100,000 delegates, and it's just the foundry industry. And there were 6 companies selling these printers, and the biggest one was 2 metres by 2 metres by 3. So you could produce a mould for a V8 block. But more important is they can make very complex and intricate moulds using the 3D printing. So where you might have made a propeller and you moulded each of the 4 blades and connected it to the boss, you can do the whole thing in one hit. Or where you would have had brackets hanging off a motor, you produce a mould that can produce the whole thing in one hit. And also the big change in the industry is high pressure direct moulding. Now you find Tesla only has 9 panels, and they're not panels that are stamped. These are direct injected panels. So you get a floor panel, it's already got the wheel arches in it. So fewer and fewer panels are involved in electric cars. And that's all a function of this part of the industry. It took us about a year to determine what the spec was for this particular type of sand. We now know what it is. We know we can produce it from Arrowsmith North. It's dry sand of a particular size fraction, but it's priced up to $300 a tonne.
You might not be aware how much of your everyday world relies on sand. From car engine blocks to ship propellers, power turbine parts to plumbing fittings. Most of these begin their life cast in sand moulds in foundries. Sand is the unsung hero of metal casting. But when it comes to industrial applications, not just any sand will do. Foundries demand sand with specific grain size, shape, purity, and thermal properties to ensure reliable casting results. While silica sand is generally suitable, what is available at Arrowsmith is uniquely suited. Its high thermal stability and consistent grain shape make it suitable for producing strong, dimensionally accurate castings across traditional and modern moulding techniques. Most foundries still use traditional raw sand for resin-bonded casting. These conventional methods rely on specific silica sand, forming a stable market. In the marine industry, foundries use sand to cast critical components that must withstand extreme forces and corrosion. As the global foundry industry grows to meet demand for cast metal components driven by key industries, so too does the need for quality sand. Additionally, As foundries adopt 3D sand printing, demand is rising for complex moulds across industries. Market forecasts suggest the sand 3D printing sector will triple in value by 2030. This is a shift worth noting. Sand is no longer just a bulk commodity. Foundry sand is a critical input to the manufacturing supply chain. Just what the Arrowsmith projects have to offer. By positioning to supply foundry-grade silica, both for traditional casting and 3D printing, there is a compelling opportunity to serve a diversified and growing market.
Strangely enough, the coarsest material we produce, it's called AFS 20, because it's a clean grain and because it's fairly coarse, our contract that we have in Taiwan, most of it will go into the water filtration industry, particularly industrial filtration. And because it's an inert grain and it's got a clean surface on it. So it's a part of that part of the industry we haven't spent a lot of time on, but increasingly so. Otherwise, it's glass making. Now, the glass making industry is huge in Asia, not very big in Australia. We've got 4 factories in Australia, they're all owned by Visy. They've also got one in New Zealand. They're well serviced by their own quarries. But our contract we have in the Philippines, the sand there will go into beer bottles. So this is suitable for float glass, which is plate glass, and container glass, all of which we're looking to export into Asia. Flat glass is an interesting industry as well. There's only a few ingredients you put in to make glass. It's predominantly silica sand, but there's some high quality lime, dolomite, and soda ash. You heat it up to 1800 degrees. Strangely enough, all the ingredients are opaque. You mix them together, you heat it up to 1800 degrees and you pour it, you get a transparent product out of it. And to get it flat, it's why it's called float glass, you float it over the top of molten tin and you get a piece of flat glass. It's huge industry. We're talking to the biggest producer of flat glass in Asia. And bottles. The quality we've got is suitable for containers. So Arrowsmith North sits just north of the Brand Highway, about halfway between Eneabba and Dongra. We've got environmental approvals from the WA government. We've just done a deal to buy the adjoining block of land. It's the farm next door, 2,000 hectares. It gives us a great opportunity to move the plant from where we had proposed it which required native vegetation clearing, over onto the farm, but it also gives us an opportunity to put in a solar farm. We've been considering solar power one way or another. It's a bit counterintuitive to go and clear native vegetation to put in a solar farm. So this gives us a great opportunity. It's got 1,000 hectares of cleared land, but it also gives us about 400 hectares of native bush that's similar to what we're clearing, and it'll be suitable for environmental offsets. We put out a BFS March last year. We're updating that now. We're finalising tenders for all the major components and all the logistics contracts. But our original BFS had an operating cost of around 32 Aussie and the sales between 38 and closer to 40 Aussie dollars at the moment. But there's a good 20 odd dollar margin. It's a good margin in here, good IRR. Initially, we're looking at 1 million tonne per year. So we're very keen to get offtake in place for very close to 1 million tonne a year. And we'll increase up to 2 million tonnes after a couple of years production. The CapEx, that's 60 odd million dollars, and we're chasing up debt finance now. And debt finance at the moment, we have a very short list of contenders there, and we've finished the legal DD, and we've also the company due diligence, and we're looking to mandate a debt financier in the next few weeks. Simple processing, but once again, the critical part of this process is in fact the attritioning. When I talked about clean grains, that's how you get a clean grain. So attritioning is an agitated slurry where the grains rub on each other and it polishes each of the grains. So you get a nice clean surface and singular grains. The rest of the process is to get rid of the stuff that you polished off. The plant, we've designed that all the way down to fabrication drawings. We've had engineers up on the new site. They'll be suggesting some preferred locations to put the plant, but we've got a lot of space up there to play with and to be able to locate the plant. This is a rendering of it. The plant is not sophisticated, it's not difficult to run. There's redundant pumps in it. Each of the pumps have got variable speed drives on it. One guy can run this whole thing from the control room. We have 2 people there. The second guy is just to keep an eye on the first one. So this is not difficult to operate. We've also got Muchea. Muchea sits only 50 kilometres north of Perth. All these studies that we did at Arrowsmith North we repeated here at Muchea, and Muchea is ready to lodge a referral to the EPA and also to DQ, the federal agency. At the moment, we've got an application in with the state government to be recognised as a project of state significance. We've spoken to the ministers involved in that just recently. They said they would have a decision for us early next year. If we get that, it will speed up the whole process. It won't be shortcutting the process, but it'll be driven a bit by a government officer. So it's worthwhile waiting a little while for the referral to see if we can get this project recognised by the state government. It'll be well worthwhile. It's similar. It's granite sands. The bush up there is what's called Banksia open woodland. The recalcitrant species here are the sedges and those low bushes. Our rehabilitation technique we propose at Arrowsmith North will be applicable here. The taller Banksia trees are easier to propagate. Once again, the water here is from the same aquifer as Arrowsmith North, despite it being 200 kilometres away. It's next to the railway line which connects to Kwinana. It has grid power next to Brand Highway, and it's also next to Brand Highway. We've got a mining lease and miscellaneous licences there already. However, we're looking to expand that licence, and that'll be part and parcel of this decision from the state government. Most important here is the grade of Muchea. It is a different product and it's a different market. We can produce silica here, but less than 100 ppm iron. And the main market for that is ultra clear glass. Ultra clear glass is architectural glass, which you see in shopping centres, but also, and the growing market is the piece of glass that goes over the top of solar panels. So there's huge demand for this particular product. We've got letters of intent for over 13 million tonnes a year. We can't even supply that. So there's huge demand. This is one of probably a handful of deposits of its kind in the world. So it's a world-class deposit. Collectively in the whole EEL, we've probably got 1 billion tonnes, but we've already identified 200 million tonnes here, and it can be processed into very high-grade silica sand. The main market here is solar panels. We've been published in the Critical Minerals Prospectus about 3 years now, and that's a publication produced by Austrade. Austrade distribute that whenever they have a trade delegation overseas. We can usually tell where Austrade have had a delegation because all of a sudden we get lots of requests for sand, particularly Muchea, from whichever country they happen to be visiting. But because it's such a high grade, it also lends itself to all sorts of opportunities for downstream processing. We've already processed a sample. We had it processed in Germany. We know we can produce silica flour. and that market's for LCDs, and that's also a market that's growing at an incredible rate. It's the economics. It doesn't need quite as much cleaning as Arrowsmith North, so the capex is a bit lower, but it's much higher value. This is $55-60 US a tonne FOB, free on board onto a ship. There's lots of opportunities for looking at these ESG goals. Of course, taking up the block of land next to us and putting in solar is a big tick in the box for generating renewable power. Corporately, we've got 750 million shares out there. As of end of September, we've got about 3 million in the bank. The share price did a bit of a spike in when we had EPA approvals. Again, another spike when we announced some offtake. It's drifted off of then a bit, mainly because there's not a lot of news coming out while we're chasing up finance in particular. But we expect that to change around fairly soon. The board, it's been a stable board. 3 of us have been on there since the inception. David's been with us 6 years. Our largest shareholder holds about 13.8%. The board hold about 12%. And I think we've got about 3,000 odd shareholders. Really, it's trying to position the company to be in the right place at the right time. And the right time is when Asia runs out of sand. And that is a happening thing now. So we need to be able to be in production, get production operating from Arrowsmith North, followed by Muchea. And that Arrowsmith process that we've been through lends itself to understanding what the EPA in particular require from an application for Muchea. So the demand is steadily increasing, the supply is decreasing. We want to be part of that equation. Thank you.